Everybody. This is Talkative Carl back with another movie spoiler review. And this movie we'll be talking about is one of I gotta say, like, in the realm of M. Night Shyamalan films, uh, these particular three are my favorite. I already did a review of Unbreakable uh last week. Check that out on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/talkative Carl. Uh, Subscribe to catch up on other reviews of movies, games, walkthroughs, and comic reviews, that kind of stuff. Uh, but yeah, the Shyamalan verse for the Unbreakable universe. I think that movie, Split and Glass, is my favorite Shyamalan movies of all time. It's really good, and I always return to them every once in a while. Like, it's in the double digits at this point, how many times I've seen each one of these. Uh, but when we talk about Split, then maybe in like a few days I'll talk about Glass. But Split, you know, I kind of slept on Split when it came out at the theater, despite like people saying like how good it is or whatever like that. At the time, because he made a movie prior to this, I forgot what it was. It was some about some old people, some grandparents or something like that. But that was supposedly good too. I didn't see it, but I honestly did not wish to see like another boring Shyamalan movie after the whole ordeal with like The Happening and other crap that came around that time. So he kind of took a break for a long while before he did the old person's movie and then Split. And this is like his uh major comeback. So when this movie came out on TV for the first time on cable, I checked it out. I loved it immediately. It's kind of like the similar to like Knives Out, where I kind of slept on it, but unlike Split, I managed to catch Knives Out on the last week while I was in theater, so I can see why people loved it. And I will do a review of that and put it on the channel because I really love that movie and everybody involved. Uh, but yeah, Split, starring James McAvoy. Uh, he plays uh Kevin Crumb, who has 23. He has DID, like pretty much like just got multiple personality disorder, and he has 23 distinctive personalities. But there's like a 24th one, an unknown one to a lot of people. Uh, and we get to see like a handful of his personalities, and he does a great job. He even does so even more uh in Glass. You get to see a lot of those other personalities that we never got to see in this one. But this one's pretty good. Like a nice little, like, minimize the personalities, but you get to see glimpses here and there. Of course, you got like Barry head, some kind of like, you know, uh, very, I don't even know who we consider him like gay, just like, just very, you know, very fast, very fashion, one of those kind of like fashion geeks, like fashion head kind of people that he likes designing clothes and everything like that. He's like essentially each personality get to hold the light and essentially just to be like the dominant one for the moment. And Barry's normally one who's handling the controls, uh but he lost that somehow. Then more so than just Patricia, who's like the matriarch of the group, which they later be known as the Horde. Uh, then you got uh, uh, crap. Now look on like the personalities because you got Hedwig. It's like a 9-year-old he plays, which is very good. Uh, yeah. Okay. Uh, Dennis, Patricia, Hedwig, Barry, Orwell, Jade, uh, and then the 24th personality, which is later we call the Beast. Okay, and then yeah, Dennis, he's more so like kind of uh he's in charge of, because they started kidnapping women. They work in a zoo and they started like kidnapping these three girls. They was out eating lunch, breakfast or lunch with one of the one of the girls' fathers, and the Dennis personality, who apparently was following them to be used as a sacrifice later on. They knocked out that, took the car to and knocked, like, kind of chloroformed the girls and brought them to his little lair. And uh meanwhile, while they're held up, one of the women who who's Casey Coke or Cook, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. Uh, she some, like, I like her character because I think a lot of people commented a long time ago when this movie came out how, like, she's unlike most kind of horror kind of movies or thrillers where you get, like, kidnapped girls and they're like freaking out or what have you. But she, matter of fact, to some extent, the other girls, it's like they play it smart. Like, they're not like your typical, like, not damsel in distress, but it's like those goofy ditzy kind of girls that end up doing something stupid to get themselves killed. They actually, like, at least Casey even more so, because she's, while the girls are freaking out, the other two girls are freaking out understandably. Casey managed to stay cool and calm and tell them, like, don't provoke him, let's sit tight and try to, and just even though she doesn't seem like she's trying to do anything as to the girls, like, annoyance, that, like, because one of the other girls uh crap, Claire, yeah, Claire's uh seems like a little more defiant, where, like, you know uh because I remember this line she said where it's like, like, well, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, none of this like damsel in distress bullshit. Like, it's three of us, we can still take them. All three of us can at least take one guy. And, like, uh and then the other girl who just kind of, like, backs up wherever Claire says, Marcia, uh played by Jessica Sulia, and Claire is like Haley Lou Richardson. She Casey, just because, like, the only reason Casey's even along with them because uh they kind of felt pity for her, because, like, Casey's known for just getting in trouble. She's, like, very antisocial, but we learn why that is towards the end, because, you know with, Split and then Glass, you'll see, like, not just one twist, because Shyamalan is known for his twists in his movies. It's like at least more than one twist in these two particular movies. But you get to see Casey reminisce her time with her father, going hunting with her uncle, and she learns, like, survival skills. That's why she's so calm in this kind of thing. But then you'll see also that the uh, Kevin personalities goes to see this doctor, uh, Dr. Karen Fletcher, who attempts to help Kevin with his DID and believes that DID in extreme cases cause uh, psychological changes, which in a lot of her, because she does a Zoom call for this like auditorium full of other faculty members, doctors, and students, and does this lecture where it explains how uh, uh, people with different people with DID when normally goes through certain physical changes that seems like that reaches sometimes to like the unknown, like certain X factors in a human genome that they can manage to gain access to. Like she explains that one one section, this woman who I don't know if it was like a woman or a man, but one person who was born blind had like DID, and his other personality wasn't blind, so he was able to see. And there's another person who is dominantly right-handed, who writes with a right hand. Her split personality, I think it was like a female, who has a different personality, who's left-handed. So it's, you know, her theory is that people with split personalities, you know, has, you know, different, you know, in her thought process abilities from what the previous one would not possess. And well, it was like a fascinating thing to hear. And of course, she's also treating Kevin and his personalities. Kevin normally, you know, remains kind of dormant because he went through like a traumatic thing in his younger years, where his father died when he was young, so he was raised by his mother, who was abusive and, you know, out of her mind in her own right, and kind of like caused Kevin's mind to completely break. So you got Dennis, who's, you know, very anal retentive when it comes to cleaning, because he was brought out when he was young, when his mother you know, was like very abusive when certain things were not cleaned properly. So he was very meticulous about his things need to be neat and tidy and everything like that. So it's that kind of thing. Like each personality was brought out for other different reasons. And these girls meet these few personalities like Hedwig, who, you know, the girls try to trick into uh uh getting them out, or at least try to get like some access to the outside to get help. But of course that failed. Claire, because they all found out that this is like the lair they were stuck in had beds and everything, but it was completely locked. It was like fairly new, newly built, or at least was still in those kind of stages, because they was able to rip through like the ceiling part, where they see like a kind of like a grate where one Claire managed to crawl through. Of course, she didn't get that far when Dennis came out to grab her and put her in a different room. Then Patricia, she comes out, tries to like feed the girls, make sure they're like comfortable as possible before the sacrifice. and brought the two remaining girls out to have a sandwich. And I mean, like James McAvoy's like, acting is just like phenomenal. I always thought he's great as Professor X, but this is one of my favorite roles he's ever done, as playing the Horde. And of course, the Josh skip again did not work. But then you get further into like Casey's history, where she was sexually abused by her uncle. Then, after her father passed, her uncle was the one who was put in charge to look after her, and because of that, it was the reason why she was constantly put into like a detention, because she was acting out just to avoid having to go back to that house. So a typical like abuse kind of story, which is like, it was like, it really fed into this story very well. It's kind of the same way with the Invisible Man movie that came out, what was it, early 2020, and it's like, fits so well as far as like not only speaking about abuse, but it fits so well in a narrative of a monster story. I might do like a review of the Invisible Man maybe for Halloween this year or something like that. But yeah, and the doctor, every time you see Kevin, who normally she speaks with Barry before anybody because he's supposed to be the dominant one holding the light over anybody else, she was concerned because she kept getting emails from a few different personalities, more specifically Barry, who it seems so urgent that something is going wrong, and every time she asks, the Barry personality explains, I was just overwhelmed. Like, don't worry about it. Like everything's fine. But she does not believe she's talking to Barry, because upon further inspection and the way, because you spend enough time with a person, you get to pick up that little mannerisms of, and Barry has like particular mannerisms, because when last time he visited, he left out the building and walked right through like a bunch of trash that was like spilled over from the trash cans, and as Barry would have completely avoided that just to avoid getting his particular clothes or shoes in that filth. So when she asked, am I speaking with Dennis, the personality she never got the chance to officially meet? Usually we kept like certain those personalities to themselves, but Dennis, like, and it's like you could, by the sheer because like it's not just about the voice that James McAvoy does, it's like the posture too, because Barry's a little more like, it's like just a little flamboyant in a way, not extreme flamboyant, but just more subtle flamboyancy, the way he struts around, and just like he's meticulously putting things in order, and that kind of thing. But Dennis, because he's more the alpha male, or the matriarch of the Horde, while Miss Patricia is the patriarch. Dennis, when you talking to Dennis, he talks a little deeper, and he folds his arms just to make himself just bigger, and like James McAvoy flexes a little bit to makes his muscles like really like bulge a bit more. And yeah, I like that personality. It's like it's hard to find my least favorite personality. I love every one of them. I'll talk about more of those personalities when I do my Glass review. But then you got Hedwig, who's curls up into like, like usually in a fetal position, or crawls around on the floor, or he dances and he acts kind of hyper. It's like, and like that's like, yes, and etc etc. It's like Miss Patricia don't want me to come play. She I'm not even supposed to be out in the light, and I like hot dogs. He's just like, he just like drops, their voice, and just like he like just like the sheer, like the acting prowess of this man is just like, you believe he's a kid. But and I use that a lot as an that role as an inspiration when like I try to do like voices, when I try to audition for voice acting roles. I use James McAvoy as my go-to inspiration when he just like envelops a role. Like I get into that same mindset and try to try, and I'm not as skilled as he is. He's been doing it a lot longer, but he went to like more, I don't know what's prestigious schools, but he went to school for this stuff, so he's been doing this for a minute, and so he knows how to do this. But I try to use that as like a prime example of how to just envelop a character, or very like invest very into a character. But yeah, when the doctor trying to let them know that she's hear from them, and she knows like a trigger word in order to bring the real personality Kevin out, but he says he doesn't want to do that because I know that would be devastating to the rest of them, because I won't do that to them, because he's trying to make sure this happens naturally, not force it on them, because that would like throws everything out of whack. uh uh when uh uh when Dennis was explaining to her that there's a 24th personality, which the doctor does not believe, because she never met him, and like the way Dennis is describing, or at least a lot of them were describing who they call the Beast, she doesn't believe that exists, because there's no human being can, because the way Dennis describes, he can scale walls, or at least they describe in like a unknown scene where like you can scale walls better than any rock climber, and is skin as tough as a hide of a rhinoceros. uh uh and then Dennis telling him, trying to describe to her as like he's big. uh, uh and this is coming from me, because like I'm a big guy, but this dude's the biggest of them, like, or at least like this dude is big, and I'm a big guy, I'm the biggest of them all. This dude is big. So uh as uh Dennis uh uh explains that I mean, they was going to meet the Beast at a train station, uh which turns out their father, the reason why they go to a train station to change to the Beast, is that the father died at a train station, or at least died on a train. So that's where he goes to meet the Beast, or at least pass the light on to said Beast. And like he almost feels like he transformed into like almost like a werewolf, but he's more, his body kind of like shows a bit of mutation, a bit, not like anything extreme, but he's definitely get like bulkier, and his skin looks a little thicker, just slightly. It's just like, just the way, more so probably slight editing, but more so just James McAvoy kind of flexing and going all feral a bit, because they, CGI the eyes a bit to widen the pupils a little bit, just a little, and he like, uh, but before that, the doctor's trying to meet up with Dennis at the zoo where he's like living at the same time working there, and she is trying to gain more information about this, but as she comes to a conclusion, because you can tell it's like, I'm gonna get out of here, I'm gonna call the cops and get this man into like a facility, because he's it's like, I guess certain doctors know when patients of theirs are like on a threshold of being like extremely dangerous to the populace and themselves. They're gonna try to get the hell out of there and try to do what they can to secure this person before without alarming them. But then she ended up finding one of the girls locked away, and that's when I can't remember if like she got knocked out or just killed on the spot, because the beast definitely killed her. He does this little armhole thing. It's like he wraps his arms around, kind of like like a snake would, like wrap around you until your bones break. That's what essentially he did. But then he goes to the train station, runs right back, which seems like a lot of a task. That's like, I have like one thing that I find kind of odd in the story, the fact that I understand he had to go to the train station to change, but then you gotta run all the way back. I'm not sure how the distance is from the train station to the zoo. This is set in Philadelphia, I think, and it's like, okay, I mean, that seems like a lot. But he runs back, kills two other girls, and Casey's the only one left. She finds like a little note that the doctor managed to write in her last moments. But even before that, Casey seems like all these different video recordings, on camera recordings by different personalities of Kevin. You get one person who's apparently a diabetic, as the only personality actually needs a diabetic medicine. And you get like Barry, I don't know, one person seems like more like a doctor or a philosopher or something like that, and then you get Barry, who's explaining like I don't have any control of the light anymore. They're trying to push me out of the control of the light, and like I'm barely in control, and I'm trying to like when he has control, he's trying to like get a hold of this doctor to let him know what's going on. They're plotting something, and he's he's little by little, he's losing control of the light, and they're just, the rest of them are just passing around because they are believing in this horde mentality that they're essentially the dominant species, and anybody who's the way Dennis put it, the unbroken, or like the unclean, that's so they need to be sacrificed or eradicated. So, and Dr. Knows doesn't know what that means until we saw like at the end where the beast tries to chase down Casey, but she managed to get, well, even before that, Casey saw the note that the doctor left. It's showing that, revealing that the only way to like stop the horde is to get Kevin to come out to regain control, and in order to do that is to call out his full name, Kevin Wendell Crumb, which is a trigger word because that's how his mother used to call out to his name when he was like in trouble, or is like just like kind of danger moment when like she's like on like a warpath, like a crazy warpath. You get to see like a snippet of a scene of that. So that's what Casey did, and for a brief moment, Kevin came out, and he's because like Casey's seeing this beast crawling on the walls and everything like that, and then like forced the beast to back away once he calls out Kevin's name, and Kevin, sweating and freaking out. It's like, who are you? Where am I? And she asks like, oh, what day you think this is? And it's like he mentioned a date because he said the last thing he remembers is being on a bus, and it was like probably several years ago, almost maybe like a handful of years ago was the last time he probably had any kind of control. And he's like freaking out because he does remember the doctor, and he finds out the doctor's dead. He did it, and he's telling her like, you gotta kill me, because I'm not gonna have any control over in a minute, so you need to take me out. But then a couple other personalities come out, one of them being Patricia, and she let them know like, like, we are the Horde, we will cleanse the unbroken. So Casey, when she like was finding like a got behind some kind of bars in this different section of the little area that Kevin was in, he was legit when he trying to shoot some, but he taking those shotgun pellets to the chest and gets back up and still charging. Not seem like he's affected at all, barely. Cause he bruising and maybe like a gash in one area, but able to continue on. And then as he's trying to like get to her, he bending the bars with his bare hands. And then he because at a certain moment when he was like tussling with her, like most of her shirt was ripped off, and you see like self-inflicting wounds on Casey from, I guess, trying to like I don't know, maybe suicide attempt, or that's how bad her at home life was. And then he just like, and I love the Beast's voice. He talks like this. My Horde is losing faith. It's like that voice. It was like I'm curious where like James McAvoy came up with the idea for that voice, but it gotta be in some like facsimile of like, gotta show like a he's supposed to be like a big beast. You're gonna have probably like a unusual deep voice to represent that. And he was just telling Casey like, rejoice, you are worthy. And then he just backs up, leave her be, and just runs away. And she's there until like the next, like, I guess security people were coming down to this particular area because they ran far enough to the outside of Kevin's particular area where he's kind of like on his own little thing, where until a certain part where like security normally come down. And then later that morning when the zoo opens, one of the security people found her with a shotgun in hand, helped her out, and then called the cops. And then that's when one of the police ladies asked her, your uncle's here, do you want to see him, or something like that. And then she just stares at her, and then the cop stares back. Later to be revealed, like, she pretty much like explain about the abuse by him and everything like that. Cause there's no surprise in the next film, he was put away for sexual abuse. But then you see like a little snippet of the Horde staring in a mirror in like I guess an abandoned building, and they all like each of the shattered glass. You see like a different personality talking, uh, and just showing that they're not done yet. The world will see what they truly are. Then there's the because that whole abuse thing, that was not much of a uh 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 we call that, I just said it, Shyamalan's twist. uh but I guess a twist being that, one of the twists being that, you know, she's not going to die because the abuse, the self-inflicted wounds and everything like that she caused on herself made her feel worthy in the eyes of the beast. So she, you know, you get to see like how damaging, or at least at the time, the extent when you first saw it, the extent of the abuse that she's dealing with. Then the real twist towards the end is that this is all in the Unbreakable universe, because Bruce Willis character David Dunn shows up at the end when the news report is telling the story about like uh Kevin Crumb and his 23 personalities kidnapping these girls, one of them surviving, blah blah blah. And then one of the customers was, you know, talking with some other people. It's like, it reminds me of that person who caused, you know, like train derailment 10 years ago. Like, what was his name? And then you see Bruce Willis come up. It's like Mr. Glass. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. And that's the end of the movie. I love this. Like I said, I've seen each of these movies in the double digits, but Split is phenomenal. But like, I think like you know, the personalities that James McAvoy get to shred his stuff with really is prevalent in Glass. But like, I think I will cover that this Friday evening. I'm not sure if I'll be able to fit in, because I still gotta do 3 of the Douglas Warrior, next Douglas Warrior watch alongs that day, so I don't know if I'll be able to fit it in, even if it's 30 minutes. We'll see. I might have to wait till maybe like next week at some point, but maybe on Sunday, because I got a day off on Sunday for 4th of July, so I might squeeze it in then. But anyway, I enjoyed this movie. It's very fun to watch. I highly recommend it. Of course, I'm spoiling this all now, but I already did warn you at the beginning of this movie. I mean, at the beginning of this video. But I highly think, if you know somebody who haven't seen Split before, I highly recommend you telling them to give it a watch. They might thoroughly enjoy it, especially if you're like into like psychology, or they into psychology. They might find some kick out of this too, just to see, like, you know. And then if you're like a real theater buff, or like you're like learning about, like, you know, like acting and everything like that, show them this movie and James McAvoy's role in this, because you'll probably learn a lot from this role alone. Maybe not everything, but you get like a good foundation off of him. So yeah, this is phenomenal. I love this movie. It's like I said, like, the Unbreakable universe is my favorite Shyamalan films of all time, probably the only ones. I've seen Signs. It's not really my favorite. You know, I've seen it only once in middle school one time. Not really something I go back to. I've seen The Village one time. Not something I go back to either. Seen It Happening once. I regret that one. Never seen the Avatar: Last Airbender live action movie. Good thing too, because it was hard garbage. I knew it was gonna be hard garbage. I didn't waste my time watching that. I might be forgetting another Shyamalan movie, but yeah. But the Unbreakable universe is probably the only movies that I actually thoroughly enjoy and go back to constantly. But yeah, once I'm done with Glass, I'll do the Horrible Bosses movies for the next review. And then I'm thinking about doing like the Nolan Batman movies after that for reviews. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Be safe, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And follow me on my Patreon. That's www.patreon.com/talkativecarl. If you have any ideas for certain reviews that you want me to do, you can check out like just the 3-tier list that I have up there, and like the options that you might feel that fits your mindset. So anyway, take care. I'll see you guys soon. And the links are in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, so you can know where to go. So take care and have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July to all you guys.